So we may know that 95% of everything we do is done by habit, but when you look at how we live our lives, how we make decisions, just the thought of, well, if we just tell them again, if we just communicate it better, they'll know. Well, if 95% is done by habit, I don't care how many times you communicate it, until you make that a habit, you're probably not going to see the behavior change that you want. And I'll touch on these cognitive biases today for positioning. Keep in mind, there are a lot more, and everybody's different, and so those cognitive biases are going to have different impacts and different effects. When I start talking about taking charge of agency, we have to start with conditioning and why we do the things that we do. Now, most people are probably aligned with the idea that 95% of everything we do is done by habit. What we don't think about, though, or what I don't see happening, is that people living out their lives making decisions based on that. And this is what frustrates a lot of times business owners, because they're moving so fast and they don't recognize that they're not actually hearing what the person is saying, or they're not observing what's actually going on, and they're working on getting something to be done, but it's counter to what the person's habits are. We've got that, and what makes it worse is that the 95% of our habits were formed largely from age 0 to 7, not all. And then during the teenage years, it's sort of like we make that our personality. We do some trial and error, and those habits start to become our point of view. Because next, from about 19 to 27, we get the prefrontal cortex fully formed. And that prefrontal cortex, for lack of a better term, sort of locks in all that conditioning and makes it our model of the world. What's interesting is things like willpower, which has some cousins of I don't want power and I won't power. And those are self-control mechanisms that go with willpower, but they can actually get in our way when they're in conflict.